Good afternoon. I just wanted to show you this, my latest piece, before I move on with this video. This I'm going to photograph and put on Facebook and Craigslist at least, and then it'll be for sale there. So if you're interested, look it up. The title is A Toy Cash Drawer with Thin Set, Black Acrylic Paint, Silver Spray Paint, and Gloss Clear Overcoat. Something like that. I'm going to have to write it out and figure it exactly, but it's going to be something like that. So there you go. Beautiful, huh? Thank you. One of the things that I'm doing now is a weekly podcast, and I'll put a link down in the description. I'm doing it every Sunday, but I just started. I've got two, and just moving along, I was considering using those as benchmarks or milestones or whatever the proper term is, but just a time frame in which, okay, I just did this podcast. What do I want to accomplish before the next one? Because a great part of the podcasts is that I'm trying to be inspirational and impart to anyone who happens to listen how I am changing, what that looks like, who has helped me on that path, because that's a great deal of it, and in terms of how I'm changing, how I'm doing more of the things that I really want to do in life without getting bogged down with self-doubt and fear and resistance and all these things that I come up against, much of which everybody says everybody goes through that. Somebody put it best. I think it was Jordan Peterson who said, what you want is not to have no fear. What you want is the bravery to get through it. And that's paraphrasing it. He said it better. But that's the gist of it. But another thing that I heard, and this wasn't from Tim Ferriss, but I've actually heard him say this before, anyways. But it was somebody else, and I can't remember who. But he was doing a video on something that he was struggling with, and he happened to talk about this struggle with Tim Ferriss. And what Tim said is, if this were easy, what would it look like? And like I said, I had heard that before, but it's like so much stuff. No matter how much that strikes me, if I don't write it down and if I don't focus on it and make it part of the vocabulary, the tool set that I use to get through those moments when I've got the resistance or the doubt or the fear, it just goes away. And this time when I heard it, it's like, okay, that is powerful. That strikes me. I really need to write that down. That is something I can use that's going to make a difference. So not only did I write it down, I wrote it down, if this were easy, what would that look like? But I made a list of things that I'm hoping are general enough that regardless of the thing that I'm trying to do, that I'm up against some kind of obstacle, and in general, what I'm trying to do, it's either going to be one of three categories. It's going to be something creative I want to do, which tends to be more physical. I'm either playing an instrument or I'm painting. It's out here in the real world. It's not just something going on up here, although this is a great deal of it also. But it's either something like that, which is largely physical, or it's what were the three categories? I had specifically thought this out. The other one of the other two would be purely administrative, meaning something like just keeping track of goals, just all of the paperwork, all of the phone calls, all of the networking, putting stuff on social media, listing projects that I have finished that I want to sell, listing stuff that I found in the garbage that's still. I got a plasma TV out here and a grill that work, an electric grill that work perfectly. Found them in the garbage. I'm trying to sell those for next to nothing, and it's still a lot of work. People will be interested enough to respond to the ad, but then I say, yes, it's available, and give them a phone number, and I never hear from them. I've got 20 different people who have asked me about that TV, and that's as far as it's gotten. It is really frustrating. But, that's the administrative part of it. But as I said, the physical, the creative, the administrative, and there was something else, which was more of a mental type of thing. I guess probably like writing, something like that, which is largely the thought process. Because you got to figure out what words go where. Anyways, yeah, I got sidetracked on that whole thing. But I wrote down a list of general things of how this would look if it were easy. And I just thought I would share that with you. If this were easy, what would that look like? It would seem worth doing, and now, without hesitation. And the second one, I would know I either had the resources to do this or would acquire them in process or learn what I needed to be successful next time. That's important because so much of what I'm doing so often is I don't know what I'm doing. Well, that's where everybody starts all the time. You start from scratch. I mean, it doesn't matter what you do in life. There was a time when you knew nothing about that. And certainly a lot of the stuff that I go into now, I've got enough life experience that I know at least where to start. But there's going to be a point where, okay, now I've gotten to a point I don't know what I'm doing. From here on, it's learning. You're either willing to do that or you're not. That's up to you. Number 3, I would have the mindset that just getting started is all I need to take on this project for the chosen time frame. And basically that's just to goad me into carving out larger blocks of time and telling myself, I can do this. I already know I have the skills to do it. I also know I will have the focus, I will have the determination, I will have the energy to work on it for this long. Even if I feel like I'm going to drop afterwards, I can do this. That's important. Number 4, any challenging element would be intriguing and tempting. And that is to keep me from being fearful of the stuff that, the unknown to begin with, and the stuff that I do know that is going to be hard. I've done this before. Man, is it a bitch. Well, consider that a challenge, and it's intriguing and tempting. How much better can you do it now than you did before? Can you find an easier way to do it? And number 5, I would consider any resistance as not originating from within, but as a signal of fear from the world of my capabilities. And that sounds a little fantastical, almost wishful thinking, because I changed it from I would consider any resistance as not emanating from within to as not originating from within, because what I consider a lot of what I go through that holds me back, that are the limitations that I see in myself when I'm trying to do something, are not these real things that I need to be concerned about. They are things that society and culture, my teachers, my parents, my peers, whomever, more or less instilled in me. This is not something you can, or even if you can, should do. Don't do this. And a lot of that is, I believe, just this notion, we don't want you to reach your potential. We want you to just do what everybody else does. Be mediocre, be normal. Don't try to be special. Don't try to be better. Don't try to be the best. Just go along, to get along, and be happy with that. And I'm saying that not in that I think others are necessarily just trying to hold you back because of envy or anything like that. I think that's just, to a great degree, how we're taught, and we just pass it along because that's what we know. That's what we've been taught. Sit down, shut up, pay attention. Don't ask questions. And that's a very simplistic way of putting that, but that's part of it. That's what we're taught when we go to school. You're not supposed to think outside the box. You get into work and they say think outside the box. Man, I went to a school where for 12 years in a row they were teaching me to think inside the box. Now you're telling me think outside the box? What the hell's going on here? But yeah, I could make a whole video, and by whole video I mean like an hour-long video on that alone, and it still would only be scratching the surface. And I know this because I've watched a lot of other people, and people who are successful, who are living their dreams, who are running these fantastic distances, or they are scientists or artists or whomever who are living these fantastic lives, and are saying, basically the first thing I had to do was say, the hell with everything that I was taught up to now. That's holding me back. And that's where that last part comes from. A lot of our social conditioning is just about, you need to fit inside these parameters in order for society to function well. If you try to break through those boundaries, everything is lost. Society is going to collapse. You can't do that to us. And the people who are successful are the ones who said, I don't care what society expects of me. I'm going to do what I know is best for me, and the hell with everybody else. And unfortunately, that's a great deal of what one needs to go through in order to attain any kind of a higher ideal. that's where we're at. That's where I'm at. But anyways, I thought I would share that with you because just that notion, even though I haven't had it long enough to apply it in any broad way where it has made a huge difference in my life yet, I know this is good stuff and I'm going to start using it, and I thought I would share it. So there you go. Yeah, concerning the podcast, I want to make 6 videos. I've got 2 channels that I contribute to regularly, so this is going on one of them, and I'm going to make a couple for the other one over the next few days. But I made a list of things. It's like more or less the podcasts are going to be bookends for what I want to accomplish that week. So every podcast, I can come to the microphone knowing that I'm better than I was last podcast, and now I actually do have something meaningful to share. It's not some loser with potential. It's a loser with potential who's actually turning that around. And that's kind of how I view myself now, without being overly critical, as that term, of course, implies. But yeah, I'm turning that around, and that's the important part. So hey, I thank you for watching, and if you didn't watch, well, what's wrong with you, man? All right, talk to you soon.